So good morning, everybody. Um, my thought for you that I've been playing with this week is from the Bhagavad Gita. And in the Gita, the story itself is very interesting, of course, because it's meant to be a metaphor for what goes on in our mind every day. So it's a battle. Most of you have kind of heard this background before, but you'll hear it again. So the background is that it's a battle between five brothers who are meant to represent our spiritual principles or our spiritual nature. And they're battling their cousins, who is starts with an army of 100 of individuals, 100 cousins who represent the distracted qualities of our mind, the things that we kind of get lost and we get stuck in. And so they're in this battle for who's going to rule the kingdom, right? And what is the kingdom? Of course, it's our life, it's our experience, it's our body and our mind. And in that battle, it's happening moment by moment, but the way that it's narrated is that the one who is watching or the one who is witnessing everything that's going on is actually the blind king. So it's a king who, it's the father of the 100 cousins, the distracted qualities of the mind that's watching this. But he's not able to see it himself. The one who can see it is his advisor. So his advisor is actually there watching this battle with divine sight. They're not even in the space where the battle's happening. But when the story's being narrated, the king says to his advisor, how did the battle go? He doesn't say it in the present tense, what's happening right now. He says, how did it go? Right? And so the whole thing is narrated as though it's happening in the moment, but it's really a retelling of what's already occurred. So it's interesting that, again, the narrator or the witness for this story is meant to be that energy that is our introspection. Right? It's our ability to not just see in the moment what is our mind doing, or at the end of the day even saying, oh my God, what happened today? But it's the ability to notice the pattern of how your mind is working day after day, moment after moment, and to realize that you can catch yourself in it, right? Because that battle between the brothers and the cousins, or our spiritual parts of our mind and our distracted parts of our mind, that's happening in the background 100% of the time. Right? And if you wait until you are already in a reaction, you wait until you're already at the end of a thought, you're done. It's already happened, right? All you can do is now try to unwind it. So the practice that we have is to get to that point of witnessing what's going on in our mind in a way where we can shift it in a moment, right? Where we can realize which side of us is winning in the moment, which part of our mind is the most active. And in that realization, that moment of realization, we're able to shift. Right? So yoga is a practice of realization. That's all it is. It's being able to recognize in any given instant when your mind has gone astray, or when you're being driven by some long-standing, thought pattern or impulse, instead of really being able to witness what's going on in a bigger way or in a more complete way. So this is what we're working with, right? Is being able to see our mind as that witness quality with the introspection of being able to see where our mind habitually goes. And by seeing that, being able to then, in a moment's notice, shift it, right? Because the battle is won or lost with your ability to realize where your mind has gone, right? It's not about, do I have a strong enough spiritual mind, or is my mind too distracted? It's not about that. It's about your ability to witness and realize when your mind has gone astray. So find a comfortable seat if you're not there already. Let the eyes close. I want you to start to send your breath up and down the spine. So every inhale is bringing the breath up the spine from the base. Every exhale is bringing the breath down the spine from the crown. So you're creating a circle with the breath. Now, as that breath is moving, I want you to try to let it move in a way where there is no pause in between. No pause between the inhale and the exhale. Looking for the continuous flow of breath. And that concept of introspection, that concept of the witness, is that the mind, when it is focused on its own inner reality, its own inner self, that's when you come in real contact with that spiritual aspect of your mind. Is that there's an internal flow that is happening 100% of the time, and when we're distracted, we don't feel it. We don't notice. So a breath with no pause, turning your mind inward. There's nothing on the outside that needs to be done. Pure awareness of the internal space. The inwardly flowing mind is one that is disconnected from all the causes of our pain and our suffering. It's not driven by that. So you're getting caught in the current, the inner current. On this last breath, before we begin to move, I want you to place your mind in the highest place that you can. That doesn't mean put it up on top of a bookshelf. It means the highest principle, the highest idea that you have of wholeness or grace or light or completeness. Put your mind on that idea. Put it there and leave it there. And then as the breath exhales, relax through the shoulders, relax the effort of trying to make your breath do anything. And then bring your hands together in front of your heart center, palm to palm. We'll open with the sound of Om. Deep breath in. Let the eyes float open. Nice, you guys. You can release your hands, please. Come forward to hands and knees. And start to take nice big hip circles. Good, moving the pelvis. So that practice of setting your mind is a huge one. And practice of putting your mind in a specific place and asking it to rest there. And then doing your best to notice when it runs completely away from where you asked it to stay, and what does it run away for? What is it chasing? When the mind is externally focused, we lose our prana, we lose our sense of peace. And then we do all of this ridiculous work to try and get that back. Move your hips the other way. That's why most of us came to yoga. We said, I want that experience of inner peace. So we do all of this work to try and get it back. But we're doing it while our mind is still externally focused. So the point of meditation, the point of this practice is to bring yourself to where the mind is inwardly flowing, where it's caught in its own current. Good. Come back to stillness, please. Stretch your right leg back behind you. Good. Toes tucked on the floor. Good. Drop the heel flat. Please take the right arm up to the sky. Yeah. And then continue to squeeze that left sit bone back and in. So it's like you're trying to pull that left hip underneath the right and then lift that right hip open a little more. Nice. Now take the right arm over your ear. Extend as long as you can. Push through the baby toe of that back foot. Beautiful, you guys. One more breath. Push in all directions. Good. And then release back to hands and knees, please. Go to the other side. Take your left leg back behind you. Toes tucked on the floor. Drop the heel. Take the left arm up to the sky. Good. And again, that right sit bone, that right butt cheek is wrapping around. So it's like you're pulling it in towards the midline, and that's going to make a little bit more space between your armpit and your hip on that right side body. So squeeze it in, even if that feels really awkward. And then lift that left hip a little higher and more open. Draw your throat back. Good. Now reach through that left arm. Take it over your ear. Good. And extend through that left side body. So push out through the baby toe of your left foot. Pull your shoulder blade and your hip away from each other. That's it. And then keep opening the heart to the sky. Yeah. Good, you guys. And then release that hand down to the floor, please. Back to hands and knees. Take your right leg back behind you again. This time, float the leg up in line with the hip. So float your leg up parallel to the floor. Walk your left arm forward. Good. Pause for a second with your fingertips on the floor. Good. And squeeze in. So I want you to actually pull your rib cage in and up. I want you to pull up through your low belly. So you're actually pulling your weight up off of that left thigh or that left shin. You got it. Good. Now maintain that. Float your left arm up in line with your shoulder. Keep drawing in and up through your ribs though. Good, so Nancy, opposite hand and leg. So the right leg is up, the left arm is up. Maybe I said it wrong. There you go. Good, you guys. Pull up through your ribs and extend out. Pull, pull, pull. That's it. Good, now bend the knee, kick your heel in, reach the left arm up and back to find your foot. So if you have to, again, do really awkward maneuvers to try to get to that ankle, I'd rather you take that hand behind your head and just push back through the back of the throat and work the energy of the upper back. Good, if your leg has dropped, your chest has dropped here, pull your ribs in, lift up again, get longer, kick that foot into your hand. Good, deep breath. And then slowly release, extend all the way back out. Nice. Take the left hand back down to the floor, please, and then take your right toes, cross it over towards the bottom left-hand corner of your mat. So let the toes find the floor, crossing that left ankle. Good. Pull your left butt cheek back and in so that you're not just swiveling your hips, and then look over your left shoulder towards that extended leg. Good. Keep that right hip lifted and wide, so don't let it fall towards the floor. Good. And then squeeze that left butt cheek back and in, so you're still lengthening side body. Good, shoulders away from the ears. Nice. And then bring yourself back to center, please. Good. Keep that right leg extended for a second, tuck the toes, and then just step back to plank pose, upward push-up. Yeah, so foot on the floor, Perry, there you go. And then extend back to plank. Good, look towards your belly button, please. Pull your ribs in and up. Good, and then roll forward on the tips of your toes, please, so your armpits move forward in space. That's it. And then lift the back of your throat, the back of your heart to take your spine into that length again. Good. Drag your hands back towards your feet. Push out through your heels just a little bit so that you have that balance of that forward action of your chest. So push out through your heels, but keep pulling up through your ribs. Keep pulling up through your inner thighs. Nice. One more breath. Good. And then knees back to the floor, hands and knees. I know. All right, take a child's pose because Crystal wants a child's pose. Yeah. I get into these modes sometimes where the poses that are the ones that we ignore or that we move through very habitually are the ones that I just want you to hang out in. And I think that for side body lengthening and really understanding how to extend through your body, plank is amazing. I know it's not fun to do, but it's amazing. And for cultivating that sense of attention, doing the poses that are challenging, I think are really necessary. Come back up to hands and knees. So yeah, you might be in trouble today, I don't know. Left leg comes up and back behind you. We'll spend some time on the floor, I promise. Good, so float that left leg up if it's not there already. Walk the right arm forward, so opposite hand to the foot, and pause for a second with the fingers on the floor. Pull in like you're doing plank here. Pull your ribs in, good. Pull the back of your heart up towards the sky, feel the low belly pull up. And now if that's dropped your leg towards the floor, then you know that you have a little bit more extension that needs to come from the place of your pelvis. So extend out through that leg, float the right arm up in line with your shoulder. Good, keep your ribs drawing in. So this is just basically you balancing in a half plank pose here. Good, so have that feeling that you're dragging back on your left hand. Good, ribs in, ribs in. Nice, reach out through the heel. Good, and then go ahead, bend the left knee, reach back, up and back with the right hand so that you get that openness through the shoulder. Find the foot or the ankle. Good, or keep the hand behind the head. Doesn't have to be reaching for the ankle. Nice, keep your right butt cheek pulled in, you guys. Don't push that right hip out to the side. Good, kick your foot into your hand. Try to find that same length on your spine, like you're still trying to do plank here. So pull your ribs in, and then to create that back bend, your thighs gotta come higher and your chest has to lift. Yeah, nice Alice, nice Mia. Good, good Heidi. And then slowly extend all the way back out, reach. Good, and then right hand finds the floor, please. Left foot crosses to the bottom right-hand corner of your mat. So cross it over your right shin. Good, and then you're pushing into the ball of the foot. Keep that right butt cheek hugging in towards the midline. Don't let your left hip drop. Look over your right shoulder. Get into the curve of that left side body. Good, and if you're really craning your neck here to try and see really far back, don't crane your neck. You know what's back there, it's your foot, right? But reach with your shoulders. So you have to turn your shoulders here if it's gonna make any difference. Keep that left hip lifted. Good. And then come back to center, please. Keep that left leg extended. Just take it straight back behind your left hip, toes on the floor, step back to plank pose. Nice. Look back towards your belly button again, pull up through your ribs, pull up through your inner thighs. Nice. And then roll forward towards the tips of your toes so your armpits come forward. Drag back on your hands. Keep those ribs lifted. And then from the back of your throat, start to press up so that your neck is in a long line and the back of your heart rises up with it. Good. And then push out through your heels just a little bit. Nice. And then keep that lower down slow to your belly. Hands alongside middle ribs, please. Good. Point the toes. Walk your hands just a little bit wider, right and left, to come up on your fingertips. And then rise up to a bent armed cobra. So lift up head, neck, and chest. Good. Yeah, wideness of your chest. So I want you to feel the squeezing of your armpits here, but don't make it a squeeze of your elbows touching your ribs. So you're hugging the armpits and you're pulling your chest forward and up, but your elbows stay wide. Yeah. Nice, you guys. And then release back to your forehead, please. Good. Stretch the arms, reaching back towards your feet, palms facing down. Good. Press through the front of your pelvis, so feel the lift of your hip points forward and up. And then fingertips stay where they are. Lift head, neck, and chest. Good. Coming into that almost unsupported cobra or a differently supported cobra. Good. And the lift of your pelvis is still happening, but now extend out through your legs. Float your legs up as well into locust. Good. And then float the arms up. Nice. And feel that full extension from the front of the body, the crown of the head, the heart center, and out through your heel. So it's not about how high can I get, it's about how long can I get. Beautiful. And then release back to the floor. Nice job. Plant the hands, please. Press up to hands and knees and come back to child's pose. Good. An inwardly flowing mind. And that witness quality is the one that is able to watch everything that's happening without judging it, without defining it, without trying to figure it out. So we're looking for that level of awareness. Where can you just watch what your mind is doing and be curious about it? And when it's running towards something, getting distracted, that's when you use your tools, your breath, your mantra, your meditation, your practice, your asana, whatever it is. You bring it back to where you asked it to stay. Come back up to hands and knees. Press back downward facing dog. Spread the fingers wide. Tuck the toes. Nice. Take the right leg up and back behind you. Down dog split. Good. Bend the knee. Kick your heel in towards your butt. Stack the right hip on top of the left. Good. And again, lengthen out through your knee. So I want you to lift that hip open, but I want you to actually point your knee more straight back behind you. So pull that heel in towards your butt, but lengthen out through your thigh, like you're trying to pull your thigh long out of your hip. Good. Nice, you guys. One more breath like that. Extend. Nice. And then bring the knee to face down towards the floor. Step your right foot between the hands. Good. Step your left foot in just a little bit. Take both legs to straight. Parsvottanasana. Make sure your feet are not right in line with each other, so move them right and left so that you have the space of your hips. Good. Nice, you guys. Squeeze the feet towards each other. Scoop your belly. Pull that right hip back and in. The left hip spins forward. Nice, nice, nice. Good, you guys. Watch where your mind fidgets in this position or in any position. Beautiful. Take one more breath where you are. Drop yourself a little deeper. Good. And then step that left foot just a little bit further back and maybe a little wider to the left. Turn your toes out to 45 degrees. Bend the right knee. Come into warrior one. Good. Still drag that back hip, that left hip forward as the top of your right hip and thigh goes back. Beautiful. Warrior one, Perry. So hips facing straight ahead. There you go. Take your arms out wide to cactus arms. Good. Start to twist towards your right, so towards that front thigh. Yeah, moving the ribs. As you move the ribs towards the right, keep that back thigh super lifted. So send the inner thigh up and back. Let the thighs move away from each other. Good. And then bring yourself back to center, please. Stretch the arms back behind you. Interlace your fingers at the low spine. Good. Deep breath in, long spine, and then bow inside the front thigh, taking the arms up and over any amount. As you come forward, keep spinning your outer left hip forward. So your right hip and thigh has to pull in. Your right butt cheek has to pull in. So more, Jen Kahalan, pull that right butt cheek back and in. Good. Nice, Pam. Ronnie, just pull that knee, that front knee a little wider towards your baby toe. That's it. Got it. Good, you guys. Release the hands down to the floor, please. Still in warrior one, both hands inside the front foot. Walk your hands to that upper left-hand corner of your mat just a little bit. Good. So you're pulling that knee wide towards the baby toe still, squeezing that right hip back and in. Nice. And now I want you to relax into that forward fold. So bend the elbows, drop yourself a little deeper. Yeah. Forward folding is the asana equivalent of how to bring your attention, how to bring your mind deeper in. Good. Bring your hands back in, please. Walk to your left, take your legs to wide. As you walk to your left, come to the center of your mat, turn the toes, widen the legs if you need. Prasarita Padottanasana. Good. And finding yourself squeezing your feet towards each other, sending your butt up towards the sky. Beautiful. How did my mind do today? How is my mind doing this moment? Because that's really what we're looking at. If you wait till the end of the day, then the damage is already done, right? Whatever you did or didn't do, it's already done. And now we're left with that judgment of, was it good enough? And what am I guilty about? And what am I upset about? And what do I need to fix? And what do I need to change? Can you catch yourself moment by moment? How is my mind responding? Is it distracted? Or is it staying where I asked it to stay? Good. Walk your hands back in, please. Yeah. Turn your belly towards your right thigh. So start to walk towards your right leg, turning the belly. Good. Yeah, so get close in towards that leg, like you're going to literally take your belly to your thigh. If some of you weren't being serious about it. Keep your left thigh nice and wide. There you go. Good. And then that left hand either anchors to the outside of your right ankle or it plants on the floor. Take your left arm to the sky. Good. Spinal twist. I think I said that wrong. So right arm is to the sky. I'm sorry. Left hand is reaching for right ankle. Left arm to the sky. Good. Keep pulling the left thigh longer and wider. So pull away from the twist. Good. And then bend your left elbow, the one holding your ankle. Drag yourself deeper in and then fall back. Pull your throat back in the opposite direction. Good. And then release back to center, please. Nice. Walk to the other side. So taking your belly towards your left thigh. Good. So turning from that space right at the top of your hip. That's what we're lengthening here, is you're turning from that space at the top of the hip and you're pulling that right thigh wide. So you're still pulling that right hip point back. Good. Nice. And then the right hand is reaching for the left ankle or it's planting on the floor, left arm to the sky, spinal twist. Good. Keep pulling that right thigh back and in. So Nancy, pull it back a little more. Good, you guys. And then bend that right elbow, drag yourself towards that left leg a little bit further and then pull back through the chest, pull back through the back of your throat. Good, Carla, keep that right hip nice and wide. Don't twist quite so far. Good. And then release yourself back to center, please. Nice job. Bend your knees so the feet are still wide, but bend your knees, drop your thighs back, and then walk your hands forward, almost like you're in a wide-legged bent knee down dog, and do a little cat-cow here. Yep. Good. Keep those knees bent a lot. Push the inner knees wide. If your legs are too wide to make that happen, move your legs closer. Good. Beautiful, you guys. And then come to stillness, please. Take the legs back to straight. Walk your hands back in. Good. Walk back towards the top of your mat, turn your toes, step back, downward facing dog. Beautiful. Left leg comes up and back, down dog split. Yep. Bend the knee, kick your heel in towards your butt, stack the left hip on top of the right. And again, you're lengthening through your thigh. So as that hip lifts, I want you to squeeze your heel in towards your butt and really pull long through your thigh. So I'm not so concerned about how much you can rotate your pelvis. I'm more concerned with how long can you get from your armpit to the tip of your knee. So pull long. And if your ribs are falling towards the floor, pull them up. Good. Squeeze your heel in, please. Get your quad really engaged. There you go. Nice, Lisa P. Good. And then point that knee towards the floor, please. Step your left foot forward between the hands. Find your lunge. And then the right foot steps forward just a little bit. Take both legs to straight, Parsvottanasana. Good. And blocks underneath the hands here, absolutely a good idea. So if you have them, use them. Good. And the back hip is what is sending you into the alignment of your pelvis. So if your back hip is open or it's falling open, that's going to pull your whole pose in that direction. So send your back hip forward. Good. And then the front thigh and the front hip has room to move, which gives your ribs room to move, which gives your throat room to move, which gives your mind room to move. Good. Nice, you guys. Press into your feet. Squeeze your feet towards each other. Forward folding. Bring myself into that internal flow. Nice. Where does my mind run to when I don't love the moment that I'm in? Good, you guys. Lana, just move your front knee a little wider towards your baby toe. There you go. Good. And then step your back foot back a little further, you guys, maybe a little bit more out to the right. Turn the toes out to 45 degrees. Bend your left knee, your front knee, and come into warrior one. Good. Ribs facing straight ahead. Hips facing straight ahead. Good. I want you to feel that widening of the inner thighs. So your back thigh is spinning in and up. So the outer thigh is pulling in towards the front, pulling in towards the midline, and pulling up. So the baby toe of your back foot should get super strong. Good. And then your front thigh is pulling forward. So let your pelvis move forward, but pull the thighs apart. Good. And then bend your elbows out and wide, cactus arms. Twist to your left towards that front thigh. Good. Nice, Jency. Don't let that back thigh fall in, you guys. Keep that right hip lifted. Beautiful. And then bring yourself back to center, please. Take the hands back behind you. Interlace the fingers at the low spine. Now, when you brought your ribs back, did you automatically just let them twist back to the right? Yes, you did. So try to twist a little bit further towards that left leg again. Twist the ribs. And then bow inside the front thigh. Take the arms up and over any amount. So again, how you set your pose is going to determine how the next instant, the next moment happens. Good. Because it's way easier to set your pelvis when you're standing than it is for me to now tell you while you're in a forward fold to pull your left butt cheek back and in, pull your right hip forward, rebalance your shoulders, do all of that work while you're already distracted, and it seems like it's impossible. Good. Squeeze your legs towards each other. It's impossible, but we do it, right? Release the hands down to the floor. Still in warrior one, both hands come to the inside of the front foot. Walk to the upper right-hand corner of your mat just a little bit. Good. Pull your hips back. Keep that left butt cheek pulling back and in. The inwardly flowing mind is one that doesn't have to fight the pull of the outside world so hard because it is so anchored in itself. It doesn't mean you ignore the outside world, but it means that you're not constantly being driven by what's happening outside. So it starts to become a real thing that your inner peace is something that is manifesting itself constantly and that it's a choice to step out of it. Good. Rock your hands back in. Walk to your right, please. Come back to your wide-legged stance. That's what we're going for, right? Is the awareness that inner peace or that state of balance is something that is ever present. And that if we do act in the world, it's by conscious choice, not because we don't know what else to do, not because we have nowhere else to go. Good. Scoop your belly, push your butt to the sky. Nice, you guys. Bend your knees again, drop your thighs parallel to the floor, butt goes back. Walk your hands forward, come back to that kind of spider-legged downward facing dog. Good, and notice here notice here if you walk your hands forward and your pelvis still feels like it's stuck, it means you gotta bend your knees more and you gotta take your butt back more so that your pelvis gets freed up. Now start to take that cat-cow action. Good, which means you should be able to start to find motion in your pelvis without straightening the knees. So keep your knees bent and try and find that rotation of the pelvis forward and back. Good. Yeah, and the movements can be subtle. Nice, you guys. Good, and then come back to stillness, please. Straightening the legs, walking the hands back in. Good, walk back towards the top of your mat. Turn the toes, step back, downward facing dog. Nice, slide forward to plank pose, upward push up. Good, lower down slow, coming through knees first if you need. Point the toes back behind you, rise up, cobra, lift head, neck, and chest. Good. And then press back, downward facing dog. Beautiful, you guys. Take the right leg up and back behind you, down dog split. Good, bring that knee forward and wide for pigeon, so the right knee goes towards the right wrist. Slide the left leg back, and again, how you set your pelvis here makes all the difference, so that outer hip of the back leg continues to pull forward. Good, and then you can pull your right low belly a little wider, and then find your way walking forward into your resting pigeon, whatever that is called for you in your mind. Beautiful. And finding yourself breathing in that inward flow. So again, maybe the breath that has no pause between it starts to come back into your mind. Your attention starts to go back to that. Right. In the story of the Gita, of course, we know that the main character is Arjuna, and he is one of the 5 brothers, one of the 5 spiritual aspects of our mind. He's having a breakdown because he can't figure out how to get himself out of this battle. He says, I don't want to fight myself. I don't want to fight my family, because it's his cousins. It's people that he cares about that are on the other side. And even though they're acting like jerks, they're being terrible, because they're still my family and I don't want to destroy them. And that's what happens when we are in that part of the mind that is looking at things as right and wrong and good and bad, is we get caught in the battle. We get caught in the fighting of what should be there and what shouldn't be there, and how do I get rid of that distractedness of my mind? How do I fight myself? How do I force myself into submission where inner peace is what I have? It doesn't work that way. You can't destroy yourself into peace. You can't fight your way into it. And so Krishna is there as the saving character, that representation of God that says, well, of course you can't do it when you're stuck in the middle of it, because you can't do it if your mind is looking at it that way. So instead he says, put your mind on me, trust in me, the bigger picture, the one that can see what's beyond what you're able to see. And if you trust in that, then whatever you do will come out the best way that it can. And it doesn't mean that everything gets destroyed. It means that there's a balance that returns. Take one more breath where you are. And then walk your hands back in, please. Good. Sit towards that right hip. Spin your, so sit onto that right thigh, left leg around so it comes towards the top of your mat, and cross your left thigh on top of your right so you are stacking the knees. Gomukhasana, so the knees come on top of each other. If that position doesn't work for you, you can place a block or blanket underneath your seat. So some of you are coming into fire log. I want the knees all the way crossed on top of each other. There you go. I know, I use all these fancy words for just cross your legs. Yeah, flex your feet. And again, if this position doesn't work for the knees, you can absolutely take your left shin in front of your right shin and sit cross-legged that way. Good. If the knees can cross, though, keep them there. And then go ahead and walk your hands forward. Take a forward fold. Good. Again, with that intention of going inward into the flow of your own energy, your own breath, your own mind. And with no desire to go into your mind to fight. If you can go into your mind and see where it's running, how it's running, why it's running, then you start to understand the distraction. And then you're able to shift it. But if you can't see it, right, the blind king, he can't see it, then you have no power to act. You have no power to change anything. You can only judge. You can only work after what already happened, and then you're working against the energy of karma. You're working against the energy of momentum. Walk yourself back up, please. Good. Unwind your legs. Bring the bottoms of your feet together. Baddha Konasana. Good. Sit nice and tall. Press your baby toes into the floor. Squeeze your knees up towards each other just a little bit. As your knees go up, so don't just lift your knees because I told you to, but lift your knees and push your seat down at the same time. That's the idea, is that you're squeezing your inner thighs, right? Because we can lift our knees from other muscles. So squeeze your inner thighs and push your seat down to the floor. Now walk yourself forward between the knees. Good. Squeeze your knees up towards your ribs. Keep squeezing. And you're tilting your pelvis around that squeeze of your leg. So you're moving your pelvis around where the thighs meet in the hip socket. Good. If that doesn't make any sense to you, again, that's a visual that maybe helps you, but just reach forward and squeeze the knees up, butt down. Good. One more breath, lengthen your spine, let those shoulders drop away from your ears, Ronnie, away from your ears, Pam. I have two Ronnies too, that's amazing. Good. And then let the knees go. Stay in your forward fold. Just drop the legs and feel where there's a release. Nice job. And then walk your hands back up, please. Good. Cross the ankles, roll forward onto hands and knees. Come back to downward facing dog. So we're coming into pigeon on the other side. For those of you who are doing pigeon on your back, if you don't want to come into down dog, you don't have to. Good. You're suddenly like, oh, a reason not to go into down dog. Then stay in down dog. Left leg comes up and back just for fun. Good. And then bring that knee forward and wide. Come into pigeon on the other side. Good. Drawing again the outer hip, the back hips, spin it forward. So it's the one that you don't think should be in charge of the pose, but it is. If your back hip is falling open, your front hip has nowhere to go. Free up your pelvis by pulling that right hip forward. And then you can change what's going on. Good. Then when your pelvis is set, walk yourself forward, find your resting position. Nice. The symbology of the Gita, of course, is that we're meant to see that every single character in the Gita, not only the 5 spiritual brothers, but the 100 cousins and the blind king and his advisor, all of them are parts of us. It's not that we are just the heroes and there's bad guys that we need to battle. It's that we are every single one of those characters. But most of all, we are Arjuna, because as soon as we set out into a practice where we say, I'm going to do something about this, we enter into that battle consciously. And when we enter into the battle, we get stuck just the way Arjuna gets stuck. How do I fight myself into peace? How do I destroy myself into balance? And if we're caught in the fight, then we're missing the point. If we're caught in the judgment of what's already happened, we're missing the point. Not where your power is. Your power is in that moment of realization of, wow, my mind got distracted. Can I bring it back? We say, bring it back to what? And we don't know what to bring it back to because everything puts us right back into that battle. Is it the right thought, the wrong thought? Put it on Krishna or whatever your idea is that fits with that model. It doesn't have to be Krishna. It doesn't have to be God. It can be whatever it is that feels like completeness to you. But once you can do that, when you can see where your mind is running and in an instant realize it, then you can shift. Then the battle's won. It's not about having the right thoughts in your mind. It's about noticing how your mind works and knowing how to shift it. We practice finding that internal flow so that we know that there's something else to turn to. We're not stuck always in the outwardly flowing mind. One more breath. And then walk your hands back up, please. Good. Sit onto that left thigh so you can swing your right leg around in front of you. And again, take the right knee on top of the left. Gomukhasana, second side. Good. And again, if you need a prop underneath your seat, use that. You should be able to feel both your sit bones on the floor. So if you're sitting on one or both of your heels, then you need to move your feet forward a little bit and maybe sit up on something. And again, if the knees can't comfortably cross this way, then right shin in front of left, flex your feet. Good. And then go ahead, send your butt back, lean forward, take your forward fold. And again, if forward folding doesn't feel good on the knees, you can stay upright. Just take your fingertips back behind you and lift your chest nice and wide. Good. Because just this position of the legs can be plenty if the hips are tight, if the low back is tight. But if you have chronic low back stuff, or even if it's not chronic, just when low back things appear, this pose, either seated or on your back, is one of the best therapeutic poses to do for releasing lower back stuff. So imprint it in your memory. And then the next time you complain to me about your lower back and I say, did you do Gomukhasana? And you say, no. I'm going to give you a look and tell you to go home and do Gomukhasana. Unwind your legs, please. Walk yourself back up. Bring the bottoms of the feet together. Again, Baddha Konasana. Good. Nice, you guys. Again, you can do that little squeeze of the knees to root your sit bones. So as you hug your knees up using the inner thighs, you push your seat down, lift your chest, and then find your forward fold to walk yourself forward, maybe with the knees still engaged. Good, squeezing up. And that squeeze is going to bring awareness. It's going to bring activity to your outer hips. So that's why we're doing it, is we squeeze up so that when we lean forward, we're actually getting more energy, more attention in the outer hips as we come forward. Good, so come forward, come forward, come forward. And then with your last breath, let the knees go and feel where there's a release in the groins, maybe a release through the lower back. Good. Maybe you go a little deeper than you thought you could. Beautiful. Walk yourself back up, please. Good. Cross the ankles, roll forward to hands and knees. And come back to downward facing dog. Good. Take the right foot forward between the hands, please. Lunge. Step your left foot forward just a little bit. Take both legs to straight. Good. Bring a block with you if you'd like. Been excited about this pose this week, so we're going to keep at it. So your block is coming to either the inside edge of your front foot, or it can come to the baby toe side if you know that you can come into a twisting triangle that is a little bit deeper. Then you can place the block to the baby toe side. But you're reaching your left hand to that right foot. So either to the floor or a block. Reach that left hand towards the right ankle. Great if you can have the shin and the forearm pressing against each other. Good, and then pull back on your hips. Pull your low belly in and up. And then the last thing is your right hand comes up to the right hip. Continue to pull back on your pelvis, but pull forward with your chest and start to turn your belly towards that right leg. Good. And then maybe you take the right arm to the sky. Maybe you keep it at your hip. Good. Nice. Draw back through your heart center, please. So fall back in away from the twist. Yes. It's really good, Susan. And then release back to center, please. Nice job. Step your left foot forward alongside your right. For a moment, bend your knees and just hang. Maybe wrap the arms around the backs of the thighs if you'd like. Good. Release the pelvis. So you're pressing through your heels, relaxing the spine. Good. And then take the legs back to straight, either holding the legs still if you're there or not. Good. And then releasing the hands down to the floor, please. Nice job. Step your right leg back just enough so that both feet can come flat, legs are straight. Parsvottanasana. Remember, you're setting your pelvis from that back thigh. So your back hip is spinning forward so that your front hip, your left hip, can pull up and wider. Good. And then you're taking your right hand to either the big toe side or the baby toe side of your left foot. And again, you can use a block there. Good. You're trying to find that connection of the arm and the leg. So you've got something to push into. And at the same time as you're twisting your belly, so start to turn your belly to the left, you're pulling your right hip back in space. So don't let it spin in with you. Pull it wide. Push your inner thighs wide. And then as your belly turns and turns and turns, stack that left shoulder on top of the right. Good. Left hand comes to your left hip. And maybe that's where it stays and you just work that rotation of your ribs. Or you take the left arm to the sky, revolve Trikonasana. Good. Squeeze your feet towards each other. Good job, Mark. Fred, I can only sort of see you, but I think you're doing a lovely job. Your arm looks great. Good. Beautiful, you guys. And then slowly release and unwind. Nice job. Step your right foot forward alongside your left, standing forward fold. Good. Again, maybe bending the knees so that you're taking it out of that state of stress of what are my hamstrings able to do, and instead you're able to feel that wrapping of your hamstrings and your muscles of your butt around your sacrum. Good. So scoop your belly and still feel that internal lift. Yeah, and then straighten the legs any amount if the knees are bent. Yes, yes, yes. Beautiful. And then feet come together, big toes and inner heels to touch. Good. Come up on the balls of your feet. And then you're going to bend your knees out wide like a little frog squat, bringing your hips down towards your heels. Good. And then walk yourself forward again, just like you did in Baddha Konasana. Walk yourself forward in between the knees. Squeeze the knees towards each other, so towards your ribs. And then let your heels start to drop down towards the floor. Push your butt back. So it's like you're in that Baddha Konasana forward fold. You got it. You're doing it right, Tara. Good. And then either stay here, or if you'd like, you can walk your hands back so that your elbows come to the front of your shins and wrap the arms around your ankles so you can hold hands behind your heels. That's it. You got it, Little Bell. Good. So squeeze those knees in towards your ribs, push your butt back, relax your heels, take your chest forward, long spine. Good. Nice. Everything's dropping towards the floor. You can also do this just in squat if you're finding this position really challenging or impossible. You can come into squat with the feet wide. Good. Last breath where you are. Nice. And then slowly, gracefully, hands to the floor. Come on down to sit. Good, you guys. Stretch your legs straight out in front of you. Good. Give them a shake if they need. That was a lot of work. Good. And then legs nice and straight, flex your feet. Dig your heels down so that you feel that you are pulling your thigh bones up and into your pelvis. So as you pull your thighs in, you're going to push your sit bones back. And it's going to feel like your pelvis is tilting forward slightly. Good. And then lift long through the side body. Take your hands alongside your hips. Push down into your hands, either flat palms if you can reach, or if your hand or your arms are short like mine, fingertips, so that you can still push into the hands. Good. So you're not lifting your butt at all. You're keeping your butt pulling back. You're keeping your tops of your thighs down. You're pulling your ribs in. This is Dandasana. Chest goes super high. Pull those inner armpits or those lower armpits in. So you're squeezing around that girdle of your chest or around that rib cage. Pull up through the back of your throat, crown of your head goes straight to the sky. Staff pose, so as though you are made of straight lines. You're not, but be strong in the extension of the legs and the extension of the upper body. Good. Squeeze everything, flex those feet. Good, pull up through the crown of your head. Put your mind in the highest place that it can go. Leave it there. Let your mind be completely 100% in this moment. Good. And then let it go, fold forward, Paschimottanasana, hands towards the feet. Beautiful. Lots of forward folding to go in. Forward folding, lucky for you, also happens to be generally very releasing for the lower back. Good. Slowly release, please. Come forward onto your back, so scoot yourself forward. Good. Bend your knees, plant your feet. You're going to breathe in and out of bridge pose. So as you inhale, you're going to lift your hips up, stretch your arms up alongside your ears. So you're lengthening the whole body, backs of the hands find the floor. That's your inhale. As you exhale, release the hips down to the floor and release the arms down alongside you. Good. So just find again the rhythm of your breath. Good. An inwardly flowing mind is one that is free from those root causes of suffering. Not because the things happening in the world that we attach to our suffering aren't still happening. It's not because we suddenly don't have emotions or that we don't react. But that it becomes a conscious decision about how we respond to those things. And it doesn't disturb that feeling that there's still that current that is peaceful, that's running inside. And that's our challenge, is that was the externally focused mind, is that we are seeking, how the heck do we create peace out of this? And the answer is you don't. You don't create peace out of the chaos of the outside world. You can't. It's meant to be changing and moving and being chaotic. It's only chaotic because we can't see the whole picture. So we're asked to go inward, find your inner flow that is already peaceful, that is already joyful, that is already complete. Resonate with that as your baseline. And then it's a choice how you operate in the outside world. As soon as you realize that you have that to tap into, then you can shift. But you can't do it if you're fighting yourself every moment. Next time your hips come to the floor, let them rest there. If you have a block and you'd like to place it underneath your sacrum, come into a little supported bridge pose. You're welcome to do that. If you prefer to keep your hips on the floor, a little constructive rest, you can keep your hips flat on the floor, but keep your knees bent, heels underneath your knees. There are two options, either the supported bridge pose or constructive rest. Good. You witness your mind, where it goes, where it runs to. That realization is not a mathematical equation where suddenly we discover that 2 and 2 equals 4. It's the moment where you're like, oh, 4 exists. A moment of understanding, clarity. So if we're looking for that progression, that somehow what I'm doing on the outside is going to add up to peace on the inside, we get stuck in the battle. Instead, can you look for that witness quality that's able to see without judgment, without trying to add anything or subtract anything? And with that, we have the ability to realize what our mind is doing and why. Then you have the power to shift, and that power to shift is there forever, always. It doesn't matter how many times the mind gets distracted. It doesn't matter how big that army is on the other side. Only 5 brothers, 5 spiritual attributes that are fighting 100 cousins, 100 distractions. And if you've read the Bhagavad Gita, you know who wins in the end, right? Arjuna and his brothers. You don't need to become more spiritual. You just have to realize where your mind is going and seek to understand it, not to judge it. You have the power to shift any moment. However the battle is going on any given day, any given instant, you have the power to shift. One more breath where you are. And then lift the hips up off of that block. If it's there, move the block to the side. Good. Pause for a moment, let the spine settle. And then bring the knees in towards the chest. Good. Stack your right thigh on top of your left. Separate your feet, reach for your ankles or your shins, flex the feet. So here you go, Gomukhasana on your back. Good. Try and bring your weight a little bit more onto that right side of your sacrum, please, because it tends to roll towards the left in this position. So bring it towards that right side of your sacrum. Good. And then really fold in like you've got something pressed up against that hip crease in the front of your pelvis. Try to press your low back down into the floor, but pull the knees in at the same time. Good. It's not important how wide the feet go. More important that you are squeezing those inner thighs inward. Nice. And then release your hold on the feet, please. Keep the legs crossed, but now just press your shins together so the legs are coming more into that eagle position. Good. Yeah, if you have the ability to double wrap the ankles, I'm going to ask you not to. So just press your shins against each other. And then take the arms into eagle as well. So left arm is going to come on top of right in front of your chest. Good. Don't drop the hands onto your face. Good. Squeeze those shins. Squeeze those forearms. Deep breath in. On an exhale, bring your elbows and knees up to meet each other, round the back. Good. Don't do it from your shoulders. Long throat, please. Good. And then release the upper body back down to the floor. Keep the legs wrapped. Take your arms out wide. Scoot your hips over to the right and drop your legs to the left. Good. So Ronnie S., take your legs the other way because somehow you're on the other side. There you go. Can you feel the top of that right hip pulling down towards the bottom of your mat? So you're actually lengthening your hip away from your shoulder. Good. And then slowly unwind the legs first, please, and come out of your twist, come back to center. Good. Plant the feet. Take a bridge pose, so setting the arms, either robot arms or arms straight, and pressing into the feet, lift from your armpits, lift the hips up. Again, with the desire of finding the full length from your top of your collarbones all the way to your knees. Pull long. Good. Pull your butt to your heels. Yes. Nice, Sarah. Good. Anna, just bring your knees a little closer to each other. That's it. And then release the hips down to the floor. Good. Draw the knees in towards your chest. Take your left thigh on top of your right. Separate the feet, reach for your ankles or your shins. Good. And again, you're pressing your low back down to the floor as you scoop your low belly and pull your knees in towards your chest as though you are taking that forward fold over something that is pressed against the front of your thigh creases. Good. It might even feel good here, just so you get real attention on that internal rotation of your legs, is even though your feet are wide, try to squeeze them towards each other. Yeah, as you squeeze your feet towards each other, you might feel from your thigh bone that rotation going inward towards the midline of the body more. And then you can push your low back down and wider, and that's going to feel fantastic. Good. You don't get to argue with me if it feels fantastic or not. It does. Good. And then release the hold of the feet, please. Press the shins against each other, so don't change the cross of the legs. Just press your shins against each other, so the legs are now in eagle. Notice if, when you did that, your right heel has swiveled out to the right too far. Keep it center. And then take the arms into eagle as well. So it's going to be your right arm on top of your left in front of your chest. Good. Keeping the hands off of your face, so you've got to lift through your forearms a little bit. Stay wide in your upper back. Beautiful. Deep breath in. And then exhale, bring your elbows and knees towards each other, round. Keep squeezing those shins against each other, though. Good. And then release the upper body, please. Take your arms out wide. Keep the legs crossed. Scoot your hips over to the left and drop your knees to the right. Good. Again, the top of that left hip, that top hip, can you move it down towards the bottom of your mat away from your shoulder? Inwardly flowing. You can feel how your breath is moving, how your mind is moving. Maybe even just the first step is to realize that there's a part of your mind that is constantly in that conversation, that's constantly in the distraction, that's constantly in the reaction. But you start to become aware that there is a part of your mind that isn't, that's able to watch. And that's the first step. That's when the power over your mind comes back, and you realize that you're able to just watch. Then you're able to also adjust. Unwind the legs, please. Come back to center. Good. Hug the knees in towards the chest. Good. Come into happy baby. Draw your knees wide. Reach for the ankles or the outer edges of the feet. Good. Press the low back down to the floor. So again, I want you to almost feel like you are pulling the tops of your thighs away from your hip points. Good. Relax your shoulders. If that means you have to hold your shins or behind your knees instead of your feet, do that. But relax your shoulders. Good. Heels up. Nice. Beautiful, you guys. And then give a little squeeze of those knees in, almost like you did in Baddha Konasana. You're squeezing the knees in, but you're pushing your low back down to the floor. Good. And then either maintain that hold on the feet or change your hold. Take your legs out wide to a straddle. Same angle that your legs are now, just take your legs to straight and press your low back down to the floor. Good. Keep pressing those legs as much as you can to straight. Nice. Press your low back down to the floor. Good. Nice, you guys. Let those legs go a little wider. Press your low back. Beautiful. And then don't change anything. Don't be dramatic. Just bend your knees. Come back to happy baby. Knees come towards the armpits. Good. If your heels have come wider than your knees, then draw those knees wider and pull your heels in. I think that's the most challenging aspect of yoga is it says don't get caught up on what went wrong, just fix it. Don't get caught up on what distracted you, just come back. It doesn't matter. That constant obsession with where did I go, it creates the battle, that creates the need to keep running in that direction. That's what we call karma. Bring the bottoms of your feet together, please. Drop your heels in towards your groin like you're in Baddha Konasana. Good, but don't drop your feet. Good. Relax your shoulders. You're just drawing those heels in towards the groin, pressing your low back down to the floor. Beautiful. And then release the ankles, please. Place the feet down to the floor and then stretch the legs all the way out to straight. Good. Take your arms up overhead. Press out through your feet. Dig your heels down. Good. Feel the tops of your thighs pulling up into the hip socket. And then feel your front ribs softening in so you're finding the wideness of your upper back. Chest goes wide. Shoulders drop away from the ears. Push through the crown of your head. Laying down Tadasana. Good. Activate everything, just like you did seated. Activate everything. Squeeze. 100% in this pose. And then release everything. Let your feet drop open. Take your arms alongside you, palms face up. Maybe coming back to that circular breath where you are finding the inhale rising up the body and the exhale flowing down the body with no pause in between. As the breath starts to fall into that endless cycle, let the mind follow it. Fall into the internal flow. gently bring the awareness back to your breath. And the body begin to stretch, move, in whatever ways serve it well. And as you're ready, draw your knees in towards your chest. Roll to the right side. And find your way back up to sit. Bring the hands together in front of the heart center, or palm to palm, or whatever mudra has been serving you well. And mudras are another way that we start to feel how our internal energy is flowing and to direct it if it's gone astray. The inwardly flowing mind is the one that is not in conflict, because it's not looking for the outside world to make sense. It's looking for the inside world to inform how to make the outside world flow more cohesively. So the practice is to start to feel that that internal flow exists, to have the realization that the way your mind runs is not the way that everything is, that you have the power to shift it. And so our first practice is to just cultivate that ability to witness our mind, to see where it's going and where it's been coming from, where it's getting distracted. And then not to get lost in what the distraction is, but to just look for, where do I come back to? And so whatever your concept of wholeness is, that's what you arrive back to. But we're practicing, we're cultivating a mind that knows that it begins and ends in a peaceful place. And that if that's what you understand, if that's what you know your internal flow is, you're already caught in that. Then it's a choice how you act in the world, not a necessity. It's a choice, not a requirement. It's a choice, not a determined fate. And this is what it said is, this is freedom, is when we're in that state. So we begin by letting the mind flow in towards itself, witness yourself without judgment, so that you can find that power to shift your mind when it does go astray. But there is no part of you that needs to be destroyed in order for you to attain that. The realization is beyond that this part of me is good or this part of me is bad. So we practice until we realize. And in that moment, you have power over your mind again. We'll close with the sound of Om. Again, the sound that brings us from the beginning of our journey to the end of our journey and into that space that is beyond any journey. It simply is. Deep breath in. Sliding the thumbs up to the space between the eyebrows. Namaste, everybody. Thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your day, great rest of your weekend. Until I see you again, if you're staying for meditation, you don't have to go off. You can just stay on this meeting. If you are not staying for meditation, I don't know why, but I'll see you when I see you. Have a great day.